How we doing, guys? Myself, Preddie. Today, we're doing a new show. This show today, we're going to be calling it Real Talk True Season. And I thought it's best to start a show where we can just be able to tell our story. And I thought that the best story to be told first and foremost will be mine. So I just want you guys to welcome yourself in. All is welcome when we're talking on the sense of Real Talk Truth Season. It's about people's truths, it's about people's lifestyles. And like we welcome anyone's story because I feel like everybody's story reflects on the facts on who they are. And I've never really got the chance to really tell my story in the way that a lot of people don't. We like to skim across the surface, or we like to say a time and a place that something's happened, but not really go into depth on how you felt. Go into depth on what was the emotional trigger. Did that relate to other relationships not planning out, or you having a relationship against the world? So we're just going to start it really, really back from, when I say about 11 years old, when I first started to go to secondary school. And as anyone, it's a big transition. I was a young boy growing up with, two sisters and a mum. Dad wasn't around. And that was always the stigma. Oh, dad wasn't around, dad wasn't around. But to be quite honest with you, I didn't know what it was like to have a dad. So at the time, I didn't even know that engagement until I started going to school and seeing other kids, ones they're playing with their dads, or even at certain moments when I used to play football and seeing dads being at their football games, and I'm like, bro, like I don't have a dad. And then it made me ponder, like, how did that make you feel? And when I was 11 years old, like, you don't understand certain trauma. So you're sitting there as a kid, like, how do I articulate that? So sometimes that might be through aggression. So sometimes I was just always upset. My mom sometimes would be like, what's the matter? But I couldn't express to her what was the matter because I sometimes didn't understand what was the matter. I just saw a young person with their dad, mum. So I don't really know how to relay that to you because I know my dad ain't around. I've heard certain stories about my dad. My dad was at a time where, my mum felt like she had to leave him in some ways, in an abusive kind of way. So when you're seeing these kind of emotions play out, and I'm saying to my mum, I might want to see my dad, or I might want to have a relationship, which most kids always want to have a relationship. I started to see the pain and hurt within my mum's eyes every time I might have mentioned him, every time I might have said something, and she's looking at me like, I hear you, but don't talk about it, because it makes her feel hurt and it makes her feel pain. And as a child, subconsciously, we start building up stress barriers to be able to deal with that. So now I'm like, okay, I want to see my dad. I want to know more about my dad. And I know I've heard bad things about my dad, but I never heard the good things, or I never heard the full story sometimes because there was hurt and pain within my mum's story. So she didn't have time to recollect and say, all right, this was something that I went through. But at the same time, there was a positive information that I could give you as well. So as a young man, growing up with two sisters, growing up with my mum, not having a role model around the house, and growing up with a woman's mentality. And that's something that I want to talk about as I'm going through my story, in the sense of having a woman's mentality. So now I'm going to school up in Potter's Bar, Hertfordshire. So now that's coming out of the area for the demographics that I was kind of like growing up around. Do you know what I mean? So let me break down two sides of the story. It was great that my mum sent me to a school that was outside my comfort zone and outside my community. But when I look back into my community, I understand why my mum did it, because I was living in a dysfunctional community. And when I looked around, I looked at people that was crackers, that was drug addicts, that was alcoholics, as it was normal. It was just like, right, like that's John. It didn't affect me to a point where I felt like, Chris, you shouldn't be in these kind of environments. But that became default, that became normal. So when I went to school up in Hertfordshire, now I'm going to flip the side. I'm seeing people with, pools and cars outside their driveway, mums pulling up in big boy Jeeps and all the rest of it. And they're saying to me they're getting pocket money and all the rest of it. And I'm seeing such a happy, fruitful mentality of young people that was ready to learn, engaged. And I'm like, okay, like, why don't I feel like I'm ready to engage and ready to learn? But I wasn't taking on the effects of the default that I was growing up around. How can you take that defect of feeling fruitful when 9 times out of 10 what I was seeing was crime, was seeing pain, hurt? There was a lot of people in my estate that was going through some sort of trauma on the reasons why they were there. But there was the times that I loved. Let me keep it real. There was the times that we loved. You see people fighting, arguing, shut up. We'd be out the window like, wow, this is, because we lacked the sense of drama. And I started to go back to my life and I was like, what is it about drama and pain that I keep resorting back to? And it started to make me wonder, in the sense of, by the time I got to 12 and 13 and going through that trauma of not having a male figure, my mum was trying her best in the sense of trying to guide me in the right way on how to be a man. But now I've just had my wet dream. You know, I'm getting pubic hair. I don't have no male to identify and sit down and talk to me. You know, even when I had to try and do my tie, small little things of what men need as another man, there was nothing there. So I started to become distant away from my mum. And this is where some of you guys might feel that little pull, that little distance from your child. If your child's like 12 or 13, like he starts to become a little bit more, no, mum, come out the bathroom, or he doesn't really tell you stuff anymore like he used to, or he ain't as open as much because he feels like at a time in his life, if he hasn't got a father around, he now feels like he has to step up and become a man for some reason. For me, for some reason, I didn't want to carry the burden of my mum. I knew she was going through so much. I knew she was going through all these kind of stresses and all these kind of stigmas in the sense of a single parent. So I got to a stage where I just started to play that role.
Do you think that that affected your learning ability in school, what you were going through at that time?
It's funny that you said that because I suffered with dyslexia. So when I was going to school, it never got diagnosed until I was in like year 8. Going into year 9. So you can imagine I'm going to school up in Hertfordshire, very, very Catholic, very, very GCSE run school, like very academic. Everybody was on point. And I was falling flat, and they couldn't understand why I was falling flat. And I used to ask the teacher, like, excuse me, miss, like, can you like tell me again? And she'd be like, Chris, I've just told you. And I'm like, I know, but I don't get it. And she would tell me 3 times and look at me like, if I told you one more time, Chris, and you don't do your work, and she felt like I was escaping it. And sometimes the more and more they done that to me, the more and more I come reclusive. So I didn't want to say nothing. I didn't want to put up my hand because I didn't understand the question or understand the answer. And then it got to a stage where I got into year 9 and they was like, well, maybe you might have some learning difficulties. Maybe you might have dyslexia. But you've got to remember now, I've been in class for a long time, slacking, being in the bottom class, watching your friends go up in different classes and all the rest of it. You start becoming mischievous because you don't know how to do the work. So 9 times out of 10, it's not the fact that kids don't want to do the work. I wanted to do the work. I just didn't know how to do it. And there was no teacher that could teach me another way. And this is the reasons why there's so many young kids that learn in different ways. It's not always an academic way. And I didn't learn like that. I learned in a way of show me the process. You know, I was in schools and the teacher would just give me a dictionary, find the word, Chris. Now my brain says to me, if I'm looking for a word, how can I find a book of words with the word that I need? So he used to always wrap my head and I'd be sitting there going through the dictionary. And she's like, well, Chris, you're taking too long. What are you doing? I'm like, because I'm trying to find the word, but there's loads of words here. So as a dyslexic person, I needed that option. I needed that, okay, Chris, there's 5 words here. Which is the right word? Which kind of narrows it down for me? And then that kind of sense of show me of, this is the word, Chris, this is what it looks like. And then dyslexic people, sometimes we've got a great memory process where we start memorizing certain things. So I got to the stage, I was in year 9, and now they're saying to me, you know, you need a teacher in classroom. And any kid would tell you, like, what demand them? You're going to have a teacher sitting next to you. So I rebelled against it, even though I needed that information. I needed the teacher to sit next to me and read the questions. I needed the teacher to give me that understanding, but I was already so disengaged and I wanted to be the cool kid, and I felt away anyway because I didn't know how to learn. So now I didn't know how to learn. I felt like I was silly and dumb anyway. And now a teacher sitting next to me. Well, what credibility all my credibility is going. Like, I want credibility. I want man to feel like, oh, Chris is all right, cool. So I started acting out. I started getting into fights and drama. So when people looking at me, they didn't realize that the trauma that I was going through inside class, no one wouldn't mention my classwork because I was just fight outside class or fighting the corridors and all the rest of it. And people just talk about that. No, Chris is hard. But it was a false element receiving like it's real, because there are a lot of the times I was fearful of what other people thought. And that broke me a lot of the times in school, to know that I wanted to be like everybody else. And I used to come home and sometimes cry to my mum and be like, why don't I get it? Like, why don't I get it? Like, I'm trying, mum. Like near enough being in tears, like, mum, I'm proper trying. Like, I'm trying to like knowledge and get that information in, but I just can't get it in, mum. And she'd be like, Chris, like, don't worry, like, we all learn different. And I was like, no, I want to learn like everybody else. Like everybody else seems to get it. Like, even when we had to do our little exams and stuff like that, I had to be like in the special class. I couldn't be in the main hall with everybody else. That's an isolation process for a young person, as much as he needs it, but as much as the peers is a big production of your life at a young teenager stage. It's not really about, oh, I need to be getting the right education. It's about what everybody else thinks.
Did your mum have any communication with the school in regards to what you were going through academically?
My mum went up to school a lot of the times, and what tends to happen sometimes, my mum was a little bit dyslexic herself. So when you're having a parent that fully doesn't understand herself and not really know the right processes that to go down, it was lucky enough that there was a few teachers that caught onto it. It was like, well, maybe you might need some assistance. And my mum was all welcome for it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It got to a stage of, you know, parents, if you're out there like pushing that child to get that right information and get that right education, they gave me a computer, they gave me something called the Dragon, where I was able to speak into it, and it was enabling me to be able to write better. And that was like back in the day sort of kind of thing. And I know there's many of technologies that's thrived now, but these are the kind of things that enabled me to become a little bit more confident. But I was lacking confidence in any academic way. I would always push myself towards football, running, anything else that didn't deal with academics, because no one didn't show me a way of, Chris, you can still do that. I got less marks in English, not because I didn't have the best story, just because I didn't know how to spell the word. And it always frustrated me, because I would always find a more simpler word to spell something, because I didn't know how to spell the word that I knew in my head. So I might be saying to myself like, oh, Jonathan was acting aggressive. So I'll be like, oh, Jonathan was acting angry. But aggressive probably would have got me a better mark, or a better, the ones their grammar or whatever. And I didn't know how to spell it. So I'll just find another easier word. And I think a lot of our young people do that. And sometimes I will spell things wrong. So 9 times out of 10, if I did try and spell that big word, you get knocked for spelling the word wrong. And sometimes they'll be looking at it like, what was you trying to spell, Chris? And then that's disheartening, because it's like, well, in my head, I thought I was spelling it right. Do you know what I mean? Because we see certain things in certain ways of certain words, the way they spell nowadays, there's silent T's and certain things. But as dyslexic people, we hear the word and spell it how it's heard. Like, do you know what I mean? In that kind of sense. So yeah, my mum she tried her best. But like you said, when you don't have the right tools and the right information, and she doesn't know, it's a pull, it's a struggle. And then she's now telling me, do your homework, Chris. I'm not doing no homework. Bun your homework. I'm 13 now. One of my friends, I'm not gonna lie, one of my friends, once they gave me a cigarette. I used to play football. I used to play for Arsenal. I was doing well, but there was certain pools and certain information that wasn't getting to me. So I started to search from something else, and that something else come out of boredom, come out of now I'm hanging around, and now I'm smoking. So as I'm smoking, it's just started to get out of control from there.
So what you said your school was in Potter's Bar. Was your social group more based in London, or did you socialize outside of school with the people up in Potter's Bar as well?
It was quite funny, because when I was in school, we hanged out a lot up in Potter's Bar, and having that dynamics, and sometimes going to your certain friend's house. But 9 times out of 10, there was a certain isolation, or if not, to be quite honest with you, a certain resentment towards them. I was like, bun you lot, like I didn't like their lifestyle because I didn't have it. You're telling me you got £20 pocket money. Don't come here and start flossing off. And I felt like they were doing it to put me down. So I got to stages where I was like, I'm going to start robbing you lot. Because where I'm from, I don't get no pocket money. My mum gives me £2.30 a day, and that was for the ticket to return and come back. So when you're seeing someone else in a different life, and even when they're being genuine, you're looking at them like, are you trying to look at me like I'm different from you? So 9 times out of 10, you just gravitate back. Even though you want to inspire to that life, you gravitate back to what you know. So I just started to go back on the roads. I started to hang around with people that reflected my life. You don't have a dad. I don't have a dad too. You're growing up quite dysfunctional, same as me. It's there, like you're hanging out and mum's got to work 2 jobs, same as me. It's like you gravitated towards what I knew, and I found love, and I found some ownership around that. So even down to the oldest and everything, when I got first groomed as 13 years of age, like when I got groomed, when I knew like I got groomed, when I look back at it now, I didn't think I was getting groomed. Like I used to idolize, I used to watch that man from the window and be like, bro, like them man, listen, I wish I was like that. And that's not because I wish I was like that because I knew that what they was doing was right. I wish I was like that because I knew that majority of times when you're in a certain situation, that's your only outcome. Someone tried to jump in on the call and everything, it's there, but it's difficult. I don't know I don't know where I left it.
You were back in your home, looking out at the world around you, and you were kind of reflecting on the influences you were seeing around you at that time, in your home environment?
Yeah, and you got to remember there was times where, you know, God bless my mum, she was working until sometimes 8 o'clock at night. So I'm coming home at 3:30, you know, take off your school uniform, and you're just seeing the world for what you see it for. Do you know what I mean? You don't see anything different. You know, you're seeing people making drug deals. You're seeing people pulling up in cars. You got man them just jumping out, smoking. You got people in jewelry. You got the girls laughing and joking, and you know, it seemed like that was that was it. Just like I'm trying to say, that lifestyle I wanted. I'm not gonna lie.
What age would you say that you were allowed to go, like, come home from school and then go out and just mix with your friends?
I think once I started getting midway, like I said, through like 13 going on 14, where my mum will say to me, you know, go home, you know, there, do your homework, do your housework, and stay in until I get it. But after that, you knew your mum wasn't coming back. So you started taking that risk, innit? I'm going out. Like, and sometimes you might just be on the doorstep. You know, them kids that are just watching on the doorstep. And then you go from the doorstep to standing next to someone, you know what I'm saying? You're just listening to the big kids. You're just listening to what man's saying. And man, them smoking and all the rest of it. And you're just looking around and you go off with your little mates and puff on a little cigarette and cough and everything and try and replicate certain things that you're hearing from the other guys. Like, shut up, fam. Like, man will boy you up, bruv. You get me? You're replicating the understanding that you're thinking, yeah, that man's like, and you're trying to pick that out of the ones on who you think you're like. I'm like this person, I'm like that person. And it got to a stage where I looked at these guys for inspiration only because they gave me something that I never had at that time. And at that time, I didn't have what my mum wasn't able to give, which was, I believed at the time, because I was all materialized, it was materialized. So these guys was able to prey on me because at the time I felt my mum wasn't doing enough. I wasn't able to get the fancy boots. I wasn't able to go to school and have loafers. You remember back in the days, man had loafers and man had was it wallabies and everything. Man had wannabes. They were square. You know what's there? Like I had Dr. Martens with the metal toe cap. So I used to look at my mum like, raw, like you don't even love me. Like my mum would buy me a blazer that's too long for me and fold it up, and we will make jokes. Like I had many comedians and even sometimes myself make jokes. That wasn't a jokey time for me. Like I got bullied for that. It made me want to feel like I needed different stuff. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I need to fit in because everyone's laughing at my clothes, mum, and everyone's laughing at my trainers. You're buying me high tech. You're buying me Adidas, but you thought it was Adidas, but it's 4 stripes. And we laugh now, but as a young person, it's affecting them as they're growing up. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So when this young person come up to me and this older come up to me and he's saying, "Oh, Chris, go to the shop." A lot of people send that back in the days. It's a send out, bro. Like, yo, send out, rare. I didn't feel like it was a send out. Like, what do you need? I was ready to stand to attention. Do you know what I mean? Because I was just wise and inquisitive, and I just wanted to know. I just wanted to be in. He sent me to the shop, go and get some chicken and chips and rare. Something that was so basic, but he wanted to see if I can run an errand. He wanted to see if I can do something for him. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So I wouldn't done it. I gave him his chicken and chips. He gave me the rest of the money. I said, what? As a young person now, you're looking like nearly £5 or whatever in your hand. You're like, say nothing. Bless, bruv. Like, now I can buy things that I want. You go to the shop, sometimes you're asking your mum, can I have that chocolate? No, you're not having a chocolate because you don't understand that she's got bills and she's got to put food and clothe your back, Chris. But I didn't understand that mentality. I didn't understand that my mum was actually making sure there was electric, making sure that I was fed. I used to just see it in the sense of, no, I want to go and buy my sweets, my little chocolate. So he kind of got me around that way. And then one day he just came up to me, I'm riding my bike and everything, you know, was there. No, I wasn't even riding my bike. I didn't have a bike. That was another thing. I didn't have a bike. I was one of those kids that didn't have bikes. And he came up to me one day and he goes, Chris, this is your bike. And I was like, what do you mean? This is not my bike. You get me? He's like, no, this is, and I'm like, and my mum was a strict parent. You couldn't even bring a pen home. You couldn't bring nothing home. My mum was like, who's that? Take it back. So I'm like, no, I can't even have this bike. Rare. He's like, no, keep it in mind. But anytime you want it, you get me, it's right in the back. You can just have it. You get me? So I just come home from school, I take the bike, I just be riding. Now all of a sudden, I feel like I'm in debt with this guy. I'm like, bro, this guy, he's putting me on. I'm looking at my mum sideways sometimes now, like, bro, like, you don't love me. Like, he's gave me a bike. Like, I've asked for a bike for years. Like, he's gave me a bike. So now he's come up to me and he said to me, you know, like, he had a rucksack and he said to me, Chris, like, take that rucksack to that person over there. And I say to the kids all the time when I'm in schools and I'm doing my inspirational talks, like, I just put the bag on without even a clue. I just put the bag on, read down, gave it to him. And I stop and say to myself all the time, and I always say to the kids, like, what was in the bag? What would have happened if there was police and I got caught? Like, was I even thinking about that at the time? And to be quite honest, I didn't care, guys. And even if police did stop me, I probably wouldn't have snitched and I probably would have ridged for him. I would have probably just took whatever was to come. And these are the kind of stories that we don't talk about. You know what's there?
When you say that this guy was older, would you say, what was the age difference? Because you said you were about 13, 14 at the time. So how old would you have guessed that he was around these times?
I was 13, 14, was definitely 19, 20.
And did he have like a lot of respect in the end from your peers?
All the respect. Like he was top. He was top guy.
Mm.
So to get validation from him,
Mm-hmm.
I got validation from him, and I grew up the ladder so quickly by doing certain chores. He announced me in front of everybody in a sense of Chris is head of the pack now. You know what's there? So I had authority over people that I shouldn't even have authority over. Just what I'm trying to say. So now I'm looking at my brethren, that's my age, like patting up now, innit? Like I'm the guy because you can't roll with him. I can.
Yeah.
So some of my friends that I used to sit there and roll with now, I started stop rolling with them. So I'm trying jamming with these older guys, and my peers are over there. And then now my older peers are telling me now you run your peers now, Chris. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And that's when it led into, you know, one's there like me starting to sell drugs. My first time, you know, one's there. He gave like how they do it, you know, one's there like man gave you look at half an ounce, look at ounce, you get me? And they used to back in the day call it a tick, you get me? He ticked me. So that means I didn't pay for it. He gave it to me. He said to me, "This is how much you're gonna make." He bagged it all up for me because I didn't know how to bag up stuff. I didn't know what I was doing. He bagged it all up for me, £10s and £20. You know, I was there in Clingfield, and he said to me, "Chris, you're gonna make." I don't even know at the time. I think it was like £270. He's like, "You're gonna make £270. I want £130." You know, I was there. As long as you give me £130, the rest is yours. You're like, what? That's like a bill or something, you know what I was there like? And I haven't even put no money, what? And I just got to do that. And he's like, yeah, cool, run that. But the first and foremost that you got to do, you get me? Like they tell like these kids about, you know, building a line. And the way that you build a line in the sense of like, you start being naive, you run around and tell your friends that you got the crow, innit? Like, boy, I got the crow, like, got the weed, I got the this, I got this, I got this. Knowing that, okay, cool, your friends are coming to you now, other people are coming to you saying, yeah, I heard that you're doing this and heard that you're doing that. And your phone starts to ring. Don't get it twisted, your phone starts to ring. And then it got to a stage, I'm 14, 15, and I'm going to people's houses that are mothers, that's got children. Or I'm going to guys that are older than me, that you know that, for one, you shouldn't even be buying it. And two, you should be pulling me up and saying, big man, what are you doing with that? You know what I was there? But like, no one said anything. And I always had that kind of mentality, like always had a knife. You know, it's there, or always had a tool, or back in the day it was like a glass bottle, like back in the day with the Lucozade bottle, always making sure that I had something that showed that person that I was about this. So like I was allowed to be in this position, sort of kind of thing. And you know, before you know it, bro, like I've gone from half an ounce to an ounce of weed. Do you know what it's there? Then it's 2.5 ounces. Do you know what I mean? Then you're trying to play the big boy card now. Just what I'm trying to say. You're thinking about moving on to other drugs and other things. They're putting.
So it's pause you. But did that affect your how you were in school? Because you were now earning your own money outside.
It was silly. By the time I got to 14, back in them days, we used to do this thing called playing money up. And you've got to remember now, I am like in year 10. And I'm not gonna lie to anyone, those that do know from my school and who knows, I had everybody smoking. There was not a time when I was in year 10 that no one wasn't smoking from me. And I fluctuated the whole school. And it got to a stage where my mum used to still give me my £2.30. So I used to still act to my mum like I needed the money, but I didn't. You understand what I'm trying to say? And I took the £2.30, but I used to use that £2.30, play money up. I used to win like £30 on money up. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I go to school with like an ounce or half an ounce. I'm coming home sometimes with £150 at the age of 14. Like, this is crazy stuff. Like, I don't even know how to tell my mum. Like, do you know what I mean? And that was like every day.
So would you say that made you kind of in some ways enjoy going to school? Obviously not so much for the academic side, but now you've kind of, would you say that gave you you felt a sense of place now.
Oh, absolutely. The older put me on. Once he knew that, and he knew where I was going to school. So you got even, like, let me break it down even further. Like, you got to remember, like, we're going to Potter's Bar. That's like 45 minutes to an hour. Like, that's slightly trafficking. I'm going to another county, bro. Like, I'm doing deep stuff as a 60. Like, I've got my backpack and I'm putting it in, and I'm going to school, and I'm in fluctuating, and all these kids that I hated, that had the £20 pocket money and rare now became my greatest allies. I was like, I love you guys. You know what's there, because you got the money. You know what's there. So I'm in school now, back, and I didn't care. I didn't care if you smoked. I'll sell it to you. I didn't care. And then I started to get to a stage where everybody started to clock on, and then I got smart with it. For those once again who know, I gave it to a girl. I started to be smart. I said to myself, and this is something that I've learned from the elders. And this girl that I knew, she used to put it in her bag. And I'm not going to lie to everybody, she was white. And I knew that I picked her because she was white. Because I knew that she wasn't going to get picked out. And I was a black boy in a white school, running around. Who's the first person they're going to pick out? Selling drugs and rare. Me. So I had to think of another way. So I started to give it to her. Then I took it one step further, started doing things like, because she was the type of person that she always had credit. She always like had credit. Her mum used to always make sure like she paid her phone monthly bill and everything. So I'd be playing money up. She will have it and she will call me. And then I started making her do the transactions to a point. And now I'm not even touching anything. So people will come to me, give me money, go to her, because the girls used to always have this little smoking corner where they used to smoke. They will go over to her and she'll phone me and she'll say to me, big one or small one? And I will say, small one or big one? And I'll just be in the same place. And then it got to a stage like I wasn't even touching it anymore.
So coming back up to what you were doing outside of school, were your friends at that time aware of what you were doing? Were they doing what you were doing? Did that affect your social group in any way?
Everybody tried to jump on. Like, for the man them that know, like, there were so many man them that tried, you know what's there. And there's certain guys that know from in school, you get me? I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna name his name, but there was another guy, he found out, like, you know, was there, like, you know, I was in fluctuating the whole school and everything. And then them days, it was like, I was only bringing in like the weed, the skunk and everything, do you know what I mean? So, like, this guy, a lot of the white guys at that time, like him, ash. So he started to bring in the ash and he started becoming my competition. So he was like killing my market, like, dramatically, do you know what I mean? And I remember one time, like, you know, being in the bush, and I remember saying to him, like, oh, like, you know, I heard that you're doing this, like, let's work together, like, let me see your stuff. You know, what is there, like, and he's showing me. I'm like, yeah, let me see all of it. Let me see, like, so I could know. And I just remember taking it for him and giving him a slap, bruv, like it was a movie, bruv. I swear to you, like it was a movie. And I said to him, if you ever do that again, bruv, it's gonna be me and you. And I just took his stuff and I sold what he had, and I continued my movement. And at the time, no one was, unless I was, or unless you was part of me giving it to you. You had to get it from me. So I got to a stage where I will have it, but now you become my little runner, because now you're doing it for me. Now you're coming up to me saying, I've got £30, Chris, because 3 people want £10, like, cool, and then I'll give them the 3, and then now they're distributing that. Now I'm coming a mini distributor. So now you've got to imagine I'm doing that in school, but then I'm also coming back to my area and I'm now influencing my guys that's around me and younger people that's around me. So by the time I left school, I'm not gonna lie to you, by the time I left school, like, I remember one of my friends, he was in school with us when I was younger, and then he came back into my life when I was about 16. And I remember it like it was very, very well. Like, you know, I've gone through my school life, like, I've done GCSEs, I didn't get great grades, but I knew I was making money. So I was like, you know what, that is my get out of jail free card anyway. So I was like, bun school. And I remember even not even showing my mum my GCSEs to a point I don't even think up to now she's even seen it. I just remember ripping it up and dashing it in the bin. You know, like, I didn't even look at it, just like what I'm trying to say, because I knew I failed, slept on so many of them and everything, because I have now become an adaptive and if not a pro, you become a production of your own environment. Do you know what I mean? So now all of a sudden, all the things that I knew and deemed as a kid growing up, because every kid knows right from wrong, all the things that I deemed of growing up of right or wrong now became what wrong was more right. I didn't care about anything. What wrong was more right? I need to eat. And that was the mentality. I need to eat. I need to do this. I want fancy clothes. My mum's not providing that. So when I got to 16, I remember one of my friends came back into my life and I had £500. And he came and he had £500, and then automatically we bought near enough, 9.5 ounces, and and it got crazy, bro. Like it got really, really crazy.
So would have this been in that transition from leaving school to that age when most people go to college? So you just finished school now.
Just finished school.
6 weeks holidays.
6 weeks holidays. Like yeah, that's when it linked up. I didn't even enroll in any colleges. No rolling in any colleges. I went and signed on straight away. You know, I was there when I left school, and I was just out there every single day. And
did that affect your relationship with your mum? Did because by this time she still wasn't aware what you were doing?
No, just what I'm trying to say. I had it very, very well. And before I go a little bit further, I'll take it back just a slight sense. When I was 14, 15, I started to go to South London. A lot of my family's from South. So when people hear my story about, oh, South London, I was always grew up in North London, but I had family from South London on my mum's side and on my dad's side. But I grew up on my mum's side of the family, do you know what I mean? So I will go down now to like Lewisham, or I'll go down to my mum's mum is from Peckham, just how I'm trying to say. So I'll go down to sometimes Peckham or whatever. Technicals right now, guys. You know what is there? Got a bit techy. Can everybody see right now?
Yeah,
good.
So you're saying you would end up down in Peckham with your cousins, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is my cousins on my mum's side. So my mum's like, you know, she's got I've got 2 aunties and an uncle. So I'm going down there to see that side of the family. And I'm not gonna lie, when you go down to South London at that time, there was like a different mentality. You know, like when the Southman was growing up, I felt anyway, when I was going down there, that's when I really upped my game. I was slightly doing certain things at school, but when I went down to South London, that's when my cousins was like, they see it as in the sense of back in the day, man was doing eats. So it's like when I was going down there, I was coming from a different environment. That's why back in the day, you used to always say, oh, Northman are soft, because them man was already jumping counters. You know, no one's there at the petrol station, stealing cars. Them man brought me into JD Sports one time, you know, no one's there like, and just told me put on clothes and ran out. I put on clothes and I just ran out of JD Sports. So all these kind of things started to happen. And I started to go to West End them days and go into shops and put on an Averex and then run out the shop. So when I started to learn certain things from the environment, also now from South London, so now this is a different kind of environment. So I'm already growing up with certain things of what the elders are giving to me, but then now I'm going down to where my cousins and them are from, and they were living, I felt at the time, a lot more of a harsher environment. It got to a stage where, you know, it cascaded, because now I had leverage on certain people from my area. What? I know people from Lewisham, brother, you dumb. Cousins from South, brother, you dumb. And them days, that was a big thing.
Were your cousins at this time a bit older than you as well?
100%.
So they were a bit more streetwise.
100%.
New things to kind of put you on to.
100%. Yeah. So when you have that dynamic now, I'm now coming back to their ends, and I'm now coming with a different aggression. I'm coming with a South aggression / North man living. So I'm going back to my man and I'm heating them up, talking about we need to do licks. Like, because I'm learning from that, we need to jump counters. Like, we need to go West End and nap some jackets. And I'm talking to them like that. They're looking at me like, whoa, like, I thought we was giving out bags of weed, CP. Like, and I'm like, nah. Next levels now, bruv. Shut up, bruv. Innit? Everybody's getting touched, bruv. Because they taught me about them getting touched. That was the first time I started doing run-ups and robberies. Just like I'm trying to say, I didn't know about that. And that was small robberies, that just man running up to man and busting man's chain. You know, I was there on the roadside or grabbing man's phone. Just like I'm trying to say.
All right, take us back to maybe like the first time that you had gone and done an activity like that. How did you feel? And were you aware of the consequences if it went wrong?
The worstest thing about it at the time, I knew the consequences. I did. But for some reason, like I said, it just felt like at that time when I was growing up, like that is it. That's what it is. Just like what I'm trying to say. That's what man them told you, bruv. You get caught, you're going bing in it. Like, do you know what I mean? So it was like you just saw it as in that's don't get caught. Just like what I'm trying to say. But the emotional side was it. Like half of the times when I was with my cousin, I was scared, bro. So many times I was scared. So many times that I didn't even want to do it. But that adrenaline of someone else saying to you, come on, can we do this and can we do that? Do you know what I mean? Pushes you in directions that you don't want to go. And then the more and more I was going down these roads, the more and more it was getting worse up. We was doing worse things. And this is when I started stepping back a bit, because I was like, bro, I don't know if I'm ready to start now holding guns, stabbing man. But it started to get to that stage, that's what I'm trying to say, where we was going out of control now to a point where it was like we felt like we could do anything. You know, sometimes when you're rolling with a couple of people and, you know, you get away with a couple of things, you jump a couple of counters, you feel like, I get away with this. Like I'm actually good at what I'm doing, but it's not that you're good at what you're doing. Like you've just been opportunist and you've just happened to get lucky on multiple occasions of times. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But then the more and more I started to get deeper, the more and more you get the hunger. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because the money gets bigger. You start to buy things, you start to do certain things. Like I remember the age of 16 and I'm buying a safe from Argos. What am I doing at the age of 16? What are you talking about? But that was the level that I was at. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And I felt like I wanted to be on top like anybody else. You watch these certain movies and rare, I was just like, I'm going to run this area. I'm going to run this. And I didn't care about the people that I was affecting along the way. And that's what breaks my heart now, because there's certain things that I've done that affected a lot of people.
And at this age, so you spoke a little bit earlier about not having like an initial father figure in your life. So by this time, you still hadn't managed to make contact with your biological father?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and did your thoughts change towards wanting to meet your dad, etc., now you are making money for yourself?
It got to a stage like I'm going to be honest, I got to a stage that I resented it so much. There was times in my life, like even when I was 16, I remember there was a time when I was 16 and I was going through some stuff, and like he was a type of person that, he would pop in and out, was there. Like he was that person that wasn't in my life, but it would just randomly pop up for a couple of hours and be like, yo, I'm your dad. And it got to a stage, by the time I got to 16, 17 and I left my mum's house, it will pop up and I'll be like, so what? Like, I'm not coming to the house, what's there? Like, I don't really care, what's there, because you're going to be gone again. And I remember there was one time that I felt in my life, and that was at 16, I felt there was many people in my life that slightly could have helped me change, but I went to the wrong people for that advice. Just what I'm trying to say. So I was in a position now, 16, I found myself in some trouble where we robbed someone and they've slightly caught wind on who it was. And once they've caught wind, it kind of come back to my name. So at one stage, like I was getting phone calls like every single day, like constantly private numbers, death threats, man, them saying like, nah, I'm at Finchley Park Station with, the 9mm38. Oh, we know you drive a red Typhoon. We know that you don't park it up. We know that you live it outside your mum's house. We know like just all of these kind of things. And obviously 9 times out of 10, I'm fronting it off. I'm like, bruv, suck your mum, rare, do what you're doing, bruv. Come to my door. Like, you know what time it is. Chef's up, chef's up, chef's up. And there was a moment that when I used to go to sleep, I was so scared and I didn't know where to turn and what to do. And all my brethren at the time used to be like, don't worry, see, like, man's got your back. But no one ever talks about when your man's gone and you're still getting them phone calls. And man's not saying, oh, your brethren are dead. Man's saying, you're the dead man, me, not anybody else. So the reality started to hit home a little bit more harder. And I was just like, right, see, like what you're doing. And some of the stuff that I was doing was linked to other men that sometimes I was either doing favors for, or no man can't run up on my brethren. So sometimes it wasn't always innately my beef, but I was always the one that took it on. So now I'm in a situation where I'm like, this person wants to kill me. And how does that make you feel? And there were some days I felt depressed. There were some days I felt withdrawn. I felt drained. It's there because I kept on putting up a facade. Like I had to be turned up every single moment that I could. I had to bat up everybody, even if it was my friend. I have to let everybody know that none of you lot ever feel like you can take me for an idiot. Just what I'm trying to say. And that was such a straining time. And I remember one time my dad probably wouldn't even remember. I remember one time going to my dad and I was like, I've got this trouble. No one's there. Like it's on like that. They're trying to do me. And I remember him saying to me, you shouldn't, but if you need something, let me know. And we'll wake something up, and if not, get your brethren to lick off the thing. He wasn't telling me to do it, but near enough, the protocol was for me at that time for my father or whatever. Not saying that he said or done wrong to do the right thing, or saying what he's saying. He doesn't want his son to die, so he's probably sitting there having that same mentality, like protect yourself. But at that moment, it would have been nice for someone to break it down and be like, listen, it's a M.A.D thing. Don't go down this road like you don't need that. What are you talking about? Is there? Furthermore, come here. Let me speak to you. And not tough love, but a little bit of that shake me out of it kind of thing and behave yourself kind of talk, do you know what I mean? Where I slightly never got that. So I left like uninsured still. So I was a little bit like, well, how am I dealing with this situation? But I knew that I could do that, but that's not what I wanted to do. But no one wasn't giving me another way out of possibly having to go down that road. And that was a very, very difficult time and a trauma time for myself because I just kept on rebelling. Just not what I'm trying to say.
All right, so we're still at the age of 16, 17, I'm guessing now.
Yeah.
Had any of your people around you, as in like your people in your area, were they starting to now think about either leaving the road, getting a job, whatnot, or was everyone just kind of in that same mentality that you were surrounded by?
No, it just grew, and I know a lot of people know my story now, and I used to always talk about it, but I go into like it just grew, like the hunger grew, you know, like people started to see me making money. They was like, I want that now. See, like, do you know what I mean? Some of my boys, like, they were square blind. They had like Christian mums, you know, ones there, like a couple of them was African, Somali, like they had strict parents. They was like, bro, like, are you mad? I can't do that. They were always up for fighting, but it was like, bruv, drugs. But when they started to see, they was like, I'm in, like, put me in, put me on. Just like what I'm trying to say, they're talking to you like that. So you can imagine sometimes not wanting that power, but people giving you that power. It got to a stage, I was 16, 17, and people coming to me telling me, what we doing, Chris? I don't know, like, but there was so much responsibilities on me. Just now what I'm trying to say. And we never talk about these times when, you know, when you start having a mentality in your mind now where you're feeling like I'm doing the right thing, you don't realize about the people that are around you now that are being affected by you thinking that this is the right thing to do. And all I cared about was getting myself out of that situation. But the difference that people don't say is I already knew that I wanted to do that. And what I didn't say to sometimes to the man, like I said, I used to always say to man them that, oh, if anyone tries it, bruv, man will brought man up. But like I said, if anyone tries it, I'm showing you that 9 times out of 10, I don't want to do it. But I wasn't being honest to be like, you know what, man them, like I'm on it, but I'm not on it like that. I don't want to die, bro. Like I don't want to go to prison. And that was a fact. That was something that I didn't portray as much, but that was a fact where I used to say to myself, Chris, I don't want to go to prison. Chris, you don't want to do this. But I didn't say that to my peers.
What was the first? How old were you when one of your peers kind of got into either an altercation or did something criminal where someone first close to you went to jail?
I remember one time, 16, not gonna lie again, once again, this is real talk true season. Like I've gone to Cyprus, family holiday. Mm-hmm. And I've gone with my mum, gone with my friend, my mum's friend, my other friend, gone over. And once again, my mum didn't even know, once again, like I'm just a scandalous child now. Her once sweet boy that she once knew, she didn't really knew. You know what's there? So I'm now 16 and I remember coming back from Cyprus and I remember me and my friends stealing about 10 to about 11 knives each. I remember having also a kosh, one of those battens,
yeah, I remember them.
And my friend had a knuckle duster and we smuggled it all the way back to London. And you know what I did, bro? I handed it out to all the man them on the block, bro, for free, bro. I felt it like it was a reward. Like, yo, man them, look what bare people's patting me on the back, like rare. Do you know what I mean? So that influence there, that mentality that I had, like, what were you doing, bro? What are you talking about? 11 knives and a kosh and you're bringing it in with your mum. Do you see how extreme that I'm going? Like with your mum. That was the first instance when I let myself know that I'm not really caring about any of my actions and repercussions on what that could possibly face for my mum. Gone to the roads now, and now I've gave out these knives. And this is the reasons why I wanted to say that about one of my friends getting arrested, because that same knife that I gave my friend is the same knife he got arrested for. And that was when he was the same age, like you think was even 1 year younger than me at the time, just like what I'm trying to say. So he's 15.
So he just got arrested just for carrying it. He hasn't done nothing stupid.
We haven't done nothing yet. You know, everyone's talking the talk, like, you know, like you're playing with it now. You know, and there you're what, dog? Like, man, rubbish. You're flexing, just like what I'm trying to say. So it's like you're saying to the world now, if anybody chats rubbish, I'm gonna touch down. But like I said, a lot of us deep down inside didn't want to touch anybody, but we wasn't portraying that. And there were certain situations that forced us to do certain things that we didn't want to do.
And did he get time for that knife, or was it just like a caution kind of thing?
Lucky enough, at that time, it was a caution, but that's what stemmed it. So once he got the caution, he came back. Man got like this like strike. You get me? Like, yo, like, what, you bust, yeah? Man's like, come on, bro, can't touch me, bro. You get me? So now, back out. Now, another knife. You know what is there? Now, man was in an altercation one time. I remember, I'm 17 now. This is the first time I've seen someone being stabbed. I'm 17. We're running around, just being active, like just being kids, you know what is there, like, and we're looking for a motive. That's what we used to say. We're looking for a motive. So we're just up and down on the roads, looking for people, rare. And as we're just going about our day and everything, like, and one of my friends must have said something to a guy, and I can't remember the translation that was betrayed, but back in them days, we was just on it like solid. You say something, we're all coming to rush you, do you know what I mean? And I remember at one moment, my friend said something, and we went towards this guy, and before we even knew it, one of my friends, that guy, same guy, got arrested for the knife. He took out the knife and gave my man free. You know what's there? So as I've gone to do something like kick and rare, my emotions at that point was, okay, we're taking it to a whole nother level now. So that's what I'm trying to say. I've finally now seen this, like, do you know what I mean? And this is before joint enterprise, rare, and I'm seeing my brethren like whack, and I'm seeing a knife on his blood. Blood on his knife, and we're breathing, we're running off, and my heart's beating so fast because I'm sitting there thinking, raw, did he just kill a man? Like, and then you're scared, you know what's there? So all you want to do is get back. All you want to do is be that kid again. So you know what we did? We went back to the area and we started playing football straight away. You know, like just to try and get your, I'm being honest, like real talk. I know it seems stupid. We went back and started playing kick-ups and goalies, and I tried to like, and then someone even mentioned it, like, bro, like that was mad, you know, you get me? And then cause he come with slightly like he didn't care. We looked at it like, raw, like, okay, is that what it is now? Man's like, so what, bruv? You get me? Man was chatting rubbish, you get me? And then after that, that was the first time. Do you know what I mean? And then, you know, it became something that it just happens. You know what I'm saying? That's what people do. But I can honestly say, like, I never got to the stage where, thank God, I had to stab someone. But there was many times that I got to near that stage. There's many times that I had it on me. There's many times that I felt like I needed to take it out. There's many times that I've been like, I've taken it out, you know?
And this was, there was no comebacks from that. That was just after that happened.
We don't even know what happened to this guy. This guy was an older gentleman. He wasn't on the roads. And this is what I'm trying to say with our ignorance, because the guy had nothing to do with nothing. He was just walking on the road. My friend didn't like what he said. My friend just stabbed him and we just ran away. So even up to now, we don't know if the guy had any implications. Don't know if he like, you know, got any problems, leg damage, rare, because he just gave him a couple on his leg. But we just don't know. Do you know what I mean? We just ran away as most kids do. Do you know what I mean? So these are the kind of things where we are unaware at that time because we only see one element of it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Definitely. All right, so moving forward a bit now, so say coming up to, so let's say from 17 to 18, were you still thinking that that's your only option is the roads, or were you trying to think of other ways to get out of that? Now you're realizing things are getting a bit escalating very quickly.
It was escalating so fast. So it's like we've gone from little bags of weed, rare, to now having loads of it. Do you know what I mean? Ounces upon ounces. Now we have knives. Then we got to a stage where we was like, we need a van. Do you know what I mean? Because we need to wrap man up. And then I remember us, like, you know, being 17 and buying cars. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like knockoff cars, whatever. And I remember there was a time we had a van, we had started having knives now, and I remember one of my friends, you know, bought a sawn-off shotgun, and that's probably the time when I said to myself, okay, cool, Chris, this is probably a time where I'm way deeper than I actually feel like I am. Do you know what I mean? And there was no heart in me that wanted to be down this road. And to be quite honest, if it wasn't for a youth worker, I wouldn't have been the person that I am today.
Were you still living at home between, so what age did you leave home?
So I left home at the age of 16 and a half, 16 going on 17.
And was that because what you were keeping up with was kind of spilling out of control or affected your family?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like there was times when I'm growing up, you know, like, and you know, I'm having problems at, you know, home with my mum, and I'm running around on the roads and she doesn't know what our son's doing. Do you know what I mean? Sort of kind of thing. And it gets to the stage where, you know, she started to clock on and she found out, you know, that was there, like that was selling and rare. And it got to a stage, arguments happened and she kicked me out. You know, I was there, rightfully so. Do you know what I mean? And she kicked me out. But at the same time,
that make you feel like now having to take on the responsibility of, you know, everything you do have to take on when you leave home?
I'm not gonna lie, she probably wouldn't like this, but I resented her for it for a lot. Do you know what I mean? Because as a child, I was a mummy's boy, innit? So when, even though like it was rightfully so, when I left, it was a little bit like I felt alone. I felt slightly disengaged even more now to my real reality, and that was, she was the last hope of that reality. Do you know what I mean? Like I, you know, the school academic, you know, I was good at football, running, so a part of all of that world, she was the last part that was still the light in my life of all the stuff that I was doing. So when, not that she turned her back on me, but slightly when she turned her back on me, it was a shut door to be like, okay, I'm fully gonna commit to this then. Do you know what I mean? There is no other choice apart from what I'm already doing. And I was living in hostels with, you know, drunkards and crackers, and I'm sleeping in my room with a baseball bat underneath my pillow because I don't even know if these guys are gonna kick off my door and everything. And going through that trauma as a young kid, knowing that a lot of the young people that I know that grow up in everything, that they're still thinking about, you know, options, like you said, university, college, you know, as there, someone might be doing well in school and knows that, you know, I'm doing well in football and I can get a little scholarship or whatever. Like I'm sitting there thinking about, like, if someone's gonna kick off my door, and if not, how am I even gonna survive the next day? So now it's not come to, do I have aspirations? It's not come to, do I have dreams? It comes to, how am I surviving? And I always used to have a saying that all I had was a bag of dreams because I didn't have anything else. Do you know what I mean? I only had my reality and the small dreams that I had left.
So you said you got involved with a youth worker. Was that through that transition of now leaving home because, you know, you're still a young, vulnerable teenager? Is that how come they got contacted you?
Yeah, because they were always on my estate. So, you know, when I was going for that transition period, they was watching me go through it. But you know, you're at the stage where you're seeing this youth worker, and bless him, he was a white guy and everything. And I just used to tear into him and tell him straight, bro, you don't know my life, bro. Like, don't come here and tell me I know how you feel. You don't know how I feel. So a lot of the time, I just didn't engage with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm wrong road, didn't it? Well, am I engaging with you? Do you know what I mean? You find that I'm selling drugs, you're probably gonna snitch on me. So bun that, rude boy. You get me? You lot all snakes, you lot all pigs, rare. So I just never engaged. I always just shut down. How you doing, Chris? Don't want to talk. I'm talking like that, talking to them all bad and wicked. I don't want to talk. Don't talk to me. And that became something that was just a repeatingness of my whole life. My relationships with people was about, if it wasn't my money oriented, I didn't want to speak to you. And if you did want to speak to me, I'll be like, why? Just what I'm trying to say. Unless I kind of knew you through someone else. If not, I feel like you're a snake and I want to beat you up or I want to do something to you. So stay away from me. Just what I'm trying to say. And it was destructive because I didn't know who was friends and who wasn't friends. You know what I mean? I was just attacking everybody. And I become a lot more isolated. And I remember the youth worker for myself, you know, like he just come up to me and just said to me, look, Chris, there's a different dynamics that you have that other people don't have. And once again, I used to just always just tear into him and everything. And he gave me that opportunity to be like, you know what? For once in my life, someone took all the crap and stayed there and still pushed me. Just what I'm trying to say. As much as I threw at him, he took everything. And, you know, grateful for that push because he was the person that came to me with my first viewing of the property now that I'm living in right now to this current day. Do you know what I mean? Like, he came with me, you know? Like, when I started, you know, performing arts college at the age of 6.5, going on 17, down at WAC, he was the first person that took me there. You know, like, and he stayed there for the whole day because he knew what I was like. Because I'm telling you about my mentality. I'm gone. Shut up. What are you talking about? Coming in here, bro. Do you know what I mean? I'm already coming with a different mentality. So he stayed there the whole day knowing that 12 o'clock or 10 o'clock was going to come and I was just going to walk straight out them doors and I was going to go straight back to my life. And when I did that, which I did, You know, I was there, Tanaka claim, they gave us a break, and I was out of that door. And when I came out of that door, he was sitting in the cab outside, and he just pointed back, and he just said, go back, bruv. You know what I'm saying? I was just looking at him like, this guy, bruv. And at the time, it frustrated me. At the time, I was like, oh, this guy he's an idiot, he's a dickhead. But looking back now, he was my savior. And he really allowed me to prove to myself that, you know, you was capable. Do you know what I mean? Because throughout my whole school and throughout my whole life, do you know what I mean? I'm not even gonna lie to everybody. I felt intimidated a lot of my life by people. You're more academic than me. I'm intimidated. Oh, you're better at doing that than me. I'm intimidated. So like I'm growing up with like feeling like overly conscious about everything that I'm doing. And he was the first person that allowed me to just breathe a little bit and be like, be yourself, man. And it's a hard thing to do, guys, when you're programmed in a way where all I know is to be angry. All I know is to be like, you have to be that in the area. You have to do that. You can't be smiling and rare. Man will just take you for an idiot and beat you up. So I was so used to being angry that I forgot what I was even angry about. I just wake up angry. I didn't not understand. And for the first time, he was just like, be yourself. And that was a journey to find myself.
So was it the youth worker that put you on to the college you ended up studying at?
Yeah, so it was a youth worker that put me on, and like I said, he just told me to go to university and try this out, Chris. You know what I mean? And it was the first time that I took the step on doing something that was outside my comfort zone. Because every time I got taken outside my comfort zone, I just related back to what I knew. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And it was such a turning and important point for me. But saying that, I will end it with the last story, which is my transition going to university, but the ending transition of me fully leaving road, but the carnage that I just left now. Do you know what I mean? So now you've got to imagine now I'm 17, going on to 18, thinking about university, but now one of my young people has got himself into a situation where I won't break down the whole story, but he's got into a situation where someone has tried to take his bike. He hasn't allowed him to take his bike. One of the guys have stabbed him. Now, when one of the guys have stabbed him, his friend was like, look, I've got a knife. And he's taken that knife and he's ran and gone and stabbed the boy. Obviously, all the boys was running, he's gone and stabbed the boy. But my whole question to that is the reason why I feel like I play a part is when he got stabbed, the fact that he wasn't thinking about, one, his mum, or two, about calling an ambulance. The fact that he felt like he had to grab a knife, being injured, and run someone down, regardless of adrenaline or whatever, and go and do that only because of a mindset that he's grown up with. Because I know, growing up, when I was doing my thing, if he's coming back to the area, I'm going to be honest with everyone, guys. You get me? I would have told man, what do you mean you let man rob you? What do you mean you let man stab you up, bruv? Are you a dickhead, bruv? Are you a mug? So could you imagine that young boy frightened, scared, and he's gone and done that off the back of what he thought everybody else was going to say when he got back to the area. So now he stabbed this boy. Now he's killed this boy. He was so frightened to a point that he handed himself in because he knew that he done wrong. But let's break it down now, guys. I've just got to a stage now, I'm going to college. I'm able to have a life. I've been on holidays. I've been at Raven. I've had girlfriends. He got sentenced when he was 16 years of age. He's been in this, he got 16 and a half years. He didn't get to have his 18-year-old birthday. He doesn't get to go out raving. He's never had sex before. He's never gone on holiday before. He's never really experienced life, and I'm experiencing life, and I get to do that. I get scot-free. And that was something that like these elders, we don't ever look at. And I know he wouldn't overly see it like that, but I do believe that due to his mentality of what I was given and the installation that we was all giving him at the time, made him feel like he had to do something like that. And now he's lost his whole life. And that's the reason why I work so hard. That's to a point I work so hard to help our young boys, because I feel like man didn't really help, man. Man left them, man. You know what I'm saying? And I try my hardest now to fight back, to say, Chris, you done wrong, bro. You done wrong, bro. You groomed them, man. You gassed them, man, up on a life, bro. And then it's like, it's short, man, them say it, and I jumped shit. I got the tools that I needed, and I had that youth worker, that inspiration, and I jumped shit. I jumped. And I didn't even look back. I didn't even care on what was going on now, because the way I saw it was, I've left now. I'm done in it. I've dealt with my demons. And looking back at this young boy that's still up to this day, guys, has still not been released. It hurts. It hurts because I know I played a part.
Real talk. Real talk. Does anyone like from the area still check for him? Do you know if anyone still checks for him? Like, is he in contact with people?
No, 100%. You know, like, and you know, there's man, them and brothers and everything. Because I'm not in that life no more. Like, I've lost contact with everybody. Do you know what I mean? And even to a slight sense, I feel even bad to try and contact, because I feel like you've been so distant. You've been so for so long. Because I was running away from my own demons. So I didn't have time at that time to look back and be like, raw, like, let me go and see if he's okay. Let me go and check on him. It's only now that I'm an adult and I'm looking back and I'm saying, man didn't have a life, bro. It's not right. It's not right. And I played a part. And if I can't stand up and be a man and say that, bruv, then I'm not a man.
Real talk.
I played a part.
Real talk. 2 seasons, brother.
Telling you, bro. So, boy, that's the first part. We'll leave it there.
This is like this is your journey before most people would have encountered you on any form of social media or entertainment, acting, etc.
Absolutely.
So, this is probably part of your story that very few people know unless they know you directly. So yeah, now thank you for giving us the full truth, real talk.
This is real talk, true season, guys. You know my style already. Do you know what I mean? And I wanted to start this podcast and allow people to know that this is how we're starting it. And this is just a part one. There's gonna be many parts continuing on to my story. But each week we're gonna have, you know, someone coming and sharing their story and getting a little bit more dynamics on the depths of what people go through and the reasons why they are who they are today. So
how can they get in contact? How can they?
If you want to be on the show, guys, if you want to be on the show, man, please just go on to any platform that I already have, you know, so DM me on Instagram or Facebook. If you need them, the email, just info@dreamsreality.co.uk. So that's info@dreamsreality.co.uk. And just let us know, man. And we want to make this an open platform for the voices, not for people that are influencers, not for the celebrities, but, you know, for them stories that we don't hear about, you know, from the times that, you know, there's a lot of inspirational people that we have in our community and we don't shine the light and sometimes we don't hear their story. And, you know, I want every guys to take away something from this. So hopefully each show you'll be able to take something away and be able to learn from something. So I thank every single one of you guys that's been on here and made a comment and made suggestions, and, you know, even possibly yourself would like to come and share your story. So guys, until next week, lesson and love, real talk, true season. You know, no one's there. We're out.